Alrighty, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. We have got ourselves what should be a good one here today, as it's going to be old but gold SharpenedEdge, a Protoss bot that is quite developed, known for kind of just, I don't want to say the kitchen sink approach, because there are bots that truly throw the whole kitchen sink. But SharpenedEdge is known to be a little bit more aggressive. It likes its gateway kind of styles. It likes attacking at times. And so we're going to see how it does against BenBotBC. Benbot is a very fun to watch Terran bot known for building battle cruisers and occasionally proxying. And speak of that proxy, we do have a proxy barracks put down in a fairly nice location, as the SCV is kind of protected just by that wall there. The probe has to go the long way around, but we are already having SharpenedEdge set a probe to attack the SCV, and delaying this barracks would be absolutely huge. Ring around the rosy time, but the SCV does actually perish, so Benbot has to send out another SCV. The fact that that proxy was scouted and delayed is huge for the Protoss bot. Ladies and gentlemen, as always, these bot games are going pretty quickly, so if you haven't already, click that like button. If we can hit 1,000 likes on this video, that would be amazing. Leave a comment down below if you haven't already, saying more bots, more StarCraft, more boats, more whales if you're James Cameron. And subscribe if you haven't already. This is the only place you can get daily StarCraft 2 bot videos. And yeah, let's see where this one goes. Just big thanks to everyone who is a YouTube member. It goes a long way, and you guys can check out the perks with the join button down below. Now, we do have Benbot playing a little bit differently, and I mean, it does like to go early bio in some matchups, TVP in particular, so we do have a nice quick concussive shell, well, not as quick as it could have been, but concussive shell Marauder to try and pressure the Protoss early on. Try saying that 3 times fast. But yes, SharpenedEdge is going to be under fire here as the first Marine and SCV comes on in. Benbot likes to go for bunkers. However, 2 Zealots being out already should mean that no bunker gets up. The SCV is going to die. The bunker gets canceled. SharpenedEdge, though, just with the Zealots for now, does have a Stalker popping out, which is a big deal, as the Marauders are now flowing for Benbot. And Marauders with Concussive Shell are very powerful units in the early game of StarCraft 2, and it sort of requires a dynamic that bots aren't very good at handling, which is just sort of precise engagements. We do see SharpenedEdge moving forward, as Zealots are actually soaking a lot of the damage while the Stalker gets shots off. So that is 1 dead Marauder. That's a really nice start for the toss. Another Stalker is out. However, the Zealots have just about gone down, which will leave the mushy Stalkers actually in trouble. The Stalker does kill the SCV, so no bunker will get up yet. That's a big deal. However, when you're fighting Marauders with Stalkers in the early game, you usually want to pull probes. We do see SharpenedEdge actually did pull probes, but it was a little bit late. There's a lot of nuance to that sort of when to engage against a rush like this. And SharpenedEdge did a good job at first. However, once those Zealots were gone, it was time to retreat and pull the boys if need be. So the Protoss is in a little bit of trouble. Not a single unit out. There is a sentry being warped in the danger zone, getting shot. That is a fairly common thing for some bots, that for Protoss bots anyway, that bot authors don't always do a check for danger before warping units in. So another sentry gets warped in and gets killed right away. That's incredibly unfortunate for SharpenedEdge. We do have an Immortal out, though, and Immortals are incredibly good against Marauders, as we see. This guy's trying to 1v3. Didn't target down the injured Marauder to start. It does stay alive. That hardened barrier is on cooldown. One more shot, I think, on either side, and the unit's going to die. The Immortal does pop off one Marauder. However, it does go down. SharpenedEdge continues to warp in these sentries, which maybe aren't the best choice. The Marauders don't actually get in the bunker, though. Just kiting now, and we've actually got Stim from Benbot, so that one Marauder gets a little excited. Stim's on in. There's another Immortal out for SharpenedEdge, which is is massively important. The Marauders, though, are not utilizing this bunker. It's absorbing damage for now, and the SCV's repairing it. But I'm wondering if Benbot just puts Marines in bunkers. I think that's the case, so maybe a slight oversight with this build. The bunker did still tie up that Immortal, so a Zealot could die, and now the Marauders are split, so SharpenedEdge has held on for now. It does have another Immortal on the way, and yeah, just the nature of how SharpenedEdge plays seems to have helped it defend early on. It likes to start building up those gateway units early on, and they definitely have helped out, as the Zealots did a good job buffering there throughout that entire ordeal. Benbot behind this, though, does have Combat Shield on the way. It's got its natural base up and mining, so 2 base to 2. Not bad for the Terran. And then we've got Stim on the way. Medivac should be coming out sometime soon. This Marauder's going to have a bad time. Does try to turn around. However, we do see the vision kind of mess with it there, as Benbot doesn't seem to have memory in that sense, that there might be units up there. And so the Marauder does, a few more units do get donated there. Now, SharpenedEdge has got its 3rd base on the way. Nice army positioning to defend that. We do have sentries popping out Hallucinated Phoenix, which is nice to see. Widowmine hits that Hallucinated Phoenix. And then Charge on the way as well. Charge can be very useful for the Zealots, as, I mean, if you don't have Charge, in theory, a bot can basically just kite the Zealots forever. And let's see, we do have mines on the way for Benbot, so that's nice. However, it's probably just going to be part of its wall, as Benbot does tend to transition after openings like this into a nice sort of late game play with a 3rd command center on the way. I can't really say already on the way, as its opponent has got the 3rd building on location ahead of time. Now, SharpenedEdge is going to show us what SharpenedEdge likes to do, and that is moving out with these gateway units early on. And to try and break Benbot is going to be quite a challenge with that bunker, with the tank, with the 2 Widowmines there as well. The Immortals get too far ahead compared to the rest of the units, and they are donated. Good job, Benbot, popping out of that bunker, realizing it can take that fight. And with the Immortals dead, there's just no way SharpenedEdge can potentially break this location. The sentries are moving forward into the siege tank and getting punished. Benbot is a bot that really relies on strong Terran defense to punish attackers incredibly hard. And a lot of bots will just attack in, attack in, attack in. However, we did see SharpenedEdge pull back for a moment. So we'll see if that is going to happen or not. We do have Benbot saying tag enemy contain end, enemy contain start. So that is interesting to see that Benbot does track that, probably alters its behavior. Maybe it says don't rally SCVs out or something like that, which might actually be an improvement, as that is something I've been concerned about by Benbot in the past. All in all, though, very, very good defense from Benbot. SharpenedEdge sort of trickling in units, struggling. This base being turned into a planetary is going to make it a nice anchor point. The Protoss does have the 3rd base up and pretty much fully saturated. There's also +1 done for the toss, whereas Benbot just getting up its 1-1 as well. So upgrades will be fairly even throughout this game, it seems. There is a Blink on the way for the toss as well. That's a very powerful tool. But this might get a bit difficult for SharpenedEdge. Benbot is a bot that has had an incredible amount of development for the late game, and SharpenedEdge, not so much. It hasn't really kept pace, whereas now we're kind of in Benbot's happy zone. It's on 3 bases. It's just building up an army. We'll see if SharpenedEdge can compete. I think it definitely will need out Colossi or something like that. We might even get Psystorm from a Templar Archives, although I'm not sure I really know SharpenedEdge for its spellcaster use, so we'll see, as it does still have that Blink +2 attack on the way. 4th base going to be going up. Benbot, meanwhile, already has its 4th base done and is floating that over. We are getting a fusion core on the way, so we will eventually get the BC part of Benbot's name. For now, though, things have been calm for a moment, and they're about to heat up here as SharpenedEdge is getting ready to attack on in once again. It's going to be a bit of an anti-timing, potentially hitting before it's +2 attack. However, it is a great Protoss army here compared to what Benbot has. It's up about 10 supply. SharpenedEdge gonna make a play. The sentries, I'm not sure they'll use their spells correctly though, and we see the power of a planetary. SharpenedEdge kind of trying to target that down. SCVs are being killed on the repair, however. This is allowing the bio ample firing time here, and so Benbot should be able to defend this to crush the army of SharpenedEdge. The Prism can try and juggle these units, but that's not going to help out too much. That Immortal does not get saved. That is a nice trade for Benbot. It did lose SCVs during that fight. However, that I think is acceptable losses at this point in the game. And we'll just see whether SharpenedEdge can potentially play this one out a bit. There is High Templar out, building up energy, but there's no Psystorm yet. We actually see the Warp Prism get used by SharpenedEdge. That's a very cool feature from the Protoss. It's not something that all Protoss bots do, which is using a Prism to warp in units. They tend to just micro with them. We do get the High Templar morphing into an Archon. I'm guessing it's just hanging around to use feedback, even though there's no Psystorm. So there we go, an Archon completes. That can soak a lot of damage, however, the Widowmine chews through a lot of its HP as mines deal immense amounts of damage. The Prism still juggling Protoss units. It's staying alive, however, Vikings are on its tail. The Observers could be in trouble here too, as the Raven reveals them. The Viking can shoot them down. So once again, Benbot holds on. Man, oh man, this is a great TVP. As Benbot continues to try and weather the storm, it is losing a chunk of its bio every time one of these fights happen. SharpenedEdge, meanwhile, is still just building on up, getting +3 attack on the way now. It might need to transition, though, as Benbot is heading into that battlecruiser tech. The first BC on the way, a 5th base already going on up. There is no 5th in sight from the Protoss yet, just more gateways. I do think we need to see a pylon at the 3rd base from SharpenedEdge as well. This is a rather defenseless Protoss base right now. Maybe Benbot can get some Hellion harassment going on later, as it does have a couple of those out. It's also got Blue Flame on the way, aka Infernal Pre-Igniter. For now, more Immortals are just being pumped out by SharpenedEdge. It's got 2 Robos out, +3 attack on the way, so it's probably going to win the next ground fight just because it does have a nice ground army. The concern, though, is Benbot is building up these battle cruisers. SharpenedEdge does go for a nice double expand, though. I'm a big fan of that, as it kind of lagged behind with the 5th base timing, so it's making up for that. Looks like a Hallucinated Phoenix does spot Benbot's 5th base, and now this could be a great opportunity for that Protoss. I did talk about no pylons at this base for warping in units. SharpenedEdge should be able to respond to this, though, rather quickly and potentially destroy this. Feedback does hit a Medivac, and now Benbot's bio is very overextended. High Templar being donated is unfortunate, but the losses for Benbot will definitely exceed the losses of SharpenedEdge. We do have a battlecruiser teleport into the main base of SharpenedEdge. Stalkers are on it, though, and they do have +3 attack. They're actually quite decent against BCs with +3 attack. Still no Stargate up from SharpenedEdge. I'm wondering if we'll see that as a response to the battlecruisers or not. For now, though, the Protoss bot maintaining supply compared to Benbot, and this ground army really is great. 5 Immortals packs a massive punch. However, that number may be reduced. There is a battlecruiser flying forward. No Yamato cannon used just yet. Immortals, though, are trying to break this planetary fortress. The tank is kind of vulnerable here, but the Immortals are not actually targeting it down. They're just going for the planetary. Zealots being distracted on the turret. That's not great. Zealots are cutting down the SCVs, though, so Benbot loses that 5th base. The tank does eventually fall. Not a perfect engagement from SharpenedEdge, but there was enough to get the job done, and killing off a Terran base is a big win. Benbot's rebuilding one, but now it's just still on 5 bases. It will need to get another command center up soon. That's a bit difficult when it's building battle cruisers, which cost as much as a command center, if not more. I guess they cost about the price of a planetary fortress. So we do see Benbot at least getting up another base on location in the bottom left. I'm a big fan of that. Not floating its bases all the time. Sometimes it does build them on location. Meanwhile, SharpenedEdge has got this beefy ground army engaging Benbot's bio. Benbot's bio just not grouping up. It's splitting up, which, I mean, is good for kiting the Zealots, but not so much for actually taking a head-on engagement. So Marauders are not amounting to too much in this game here. And for now, we do see SharpenedEdge having an army lead. It's got this big old ground army. We'll see if it can engage these battle cruisers or not. Benbot does teleport that injured BC home to repair it up. SharpenedEdge, though, blinks on top of the enemy air units, looking to bring the pain to them. This base is rather exposed, though. No cannon, no battery there on Maganatha. There is that airspace that BCs can exploit. SharpenedEdge is looking to attack on in again. It's waffling a little bit. I'm not sure why it keeps kind of pulling back and grouping up. We do get a feedback on the Raven. There's an instantaneous warpin highlighting the power of bots as the Protoss is now surging forward. The tank for Benbot not going to cut it. Those Zealots just get on top so quickly. We do have some disruptor friendly fire, I believe, there. Still, though, there's enough for SharpenedEdge to break the planetary. Yamato cannon goes down from Benbot, but the Terran has to retreat even further. It may have to fall back to that nice natural wall, or at the very least fight on one of these other planetary fortress. The Zealot count has greatly been diminished, so there's not that much to actually buffer for these high-value units, for the Archons, for the Stalkers, that kind of thing. And yeah, we do have Benbot going back on in with its BCs, not just being on the defense, teleporting 2 battle cruisers into the main base of SharpenedEdge. And these BCs, they do have 1-1 upgrades now, so 2 Stalkers are not going to cut that. There's no batteries here. Look at this. SharpenedEdge is all of a sudden in trouble as it just doesn't have the anti-air present to deal with. This High Templar coming back, but they're not going to cut it. I mean, BCs don't have energy to feed back anymore, so SharpenedEdge is in a spot of bother here. It's warping in Stalkers, but as the upgrades pile on for the battle cruisers, it just gets harder and harder to deal with them without your own air units, and SharpenedEdge is just staying on the gateway composition, so it's all on the Stalkers here. And yeah, the Protoss just threw away a lot of resources on the final stage of that previous attack, as the supply has been greatly diminished. There's lots of Immortals, lots of Zealots, not necessarily enough anti-air. This has been something I think that's been a problem with SharpenedEdge in the past, is maybe not building enough anti-air and just kind of still building Immortals when it's like, okay, there's 5 battle cruisers out. We got to change our priorities here. Benbot, meanwhile, is coming on in, as it's got these Marauders making a play once more. However, there is so many Zealots and Immortals. I will say I do like how SharpenedEdge is splitting its army. Anti-air in the main to defend that. Zealots, meanwhile, in the front, working away on these Marauders, cornering some of them, chasing them down. The Marauders can kite, but the Zealots are just so strong. It actually is quite nice, the kiting they're doing, though, as Zealots are tough, but the tanks get some really good shots off there and clean them up. The Immortals, meanwhile, are on the other side skirmishing, so Benbot's in a rather good position now. SharpenedEdge needs to hold on here as the Terran pushes on in. The 3 tanks are rather isolated, though, so they may be ripe for the picking. These 2 Immortals are doing work, killing off some just killing off whatever they can find, really. Delaying this base a little bit is a nice touch. We do hear the tag. Jump enemy main once more, though. This will potentially pull SharpenedEdge back home. Stalkers are getting aggressive. We do have a blink forward into battle cruisers, but now these Stalkers are unsupported, and the Marauders are going to work. It's time for SharpenedEdge, I think, to retreat, but its Zealots and Immortals are just sitting idle instead of backing up these Stalkers. The BCs in the main are repulsed once more, but for now, Benbot is in a much better position than it was previously. High Templar fighting and dying. I'm genuinely curious if SharpenedEdge is supposed to have Psystorm on those High Templar or not. We do have Yamato cannon being utilized once more. Immortals and Zealots chasing the ground army of Benbot away. It is quite comical that SharpenedEdge is just like, I'll just keep building Zealots and Immortals, ignore the battle cruisers, ignore life's problems. Why not? Meanwhile, BCs, though, are hitting this precious Protoss base. There's not a ton of bases here for SharpenedEdge. It really can't afford to lose any, and there's that single Hellion harassment hitting this base. That's quite good, although an Immortal and a Zealot do respond to that. But SharpenedEdge, I think we're seeing, is just not quite specialized enough to deal with a late-game bot like Benbot. The battle cruiser count is out of control, and the Protoss just doesn't have that much of an income. For example, we do see another Immortal being produced when there's 7 BCs out. Yeah, this is one of the weaknesses of SharpenedEdge, and Benbot is doing a good job exploiting it. I must say I really have enjoyed the Zealots splitting off from the Immortals, mostly, but the fact that they didn't back those Stalkers up in that other attack is a bit unfortunate. I think it's probably best to say, hey, I'm attacking, bring everything, not just send the stalkers. But for now, we do have Benbot pushing on in once again, using its combination of bio tanks and battle cruisers to try and kill SharpenedEdge here. The Protoss is holding on for now, but the supply is low. There's not enough in the main to deal with the battle cruisers, which are going for the famous Benbot main base blink. And the Protoss, trying to reestablish this nexus, is in a lot of trouble because, as we see, Benbot has got every other base on the map. I think we're going to have our victor here. It's a bit unfortunate SharpenedEdge never went into Tempest or anything like that. I think that... I mean, I don't want to say that it can't win the game without the Tempest, as Stalkers can be very powerful. I think it is just the fact that it went for more Stalkers than, or pardon me, more Immortals and Zealots than Stalkers. And yeah, so what a great game between these two. Benbot able to take it, I think, as expected. When a game goes long, Benbot's usually in pretty good shape. Very cool showing by SharpenedEdge. The High Templar, I'm wondering, SharpenedEdge doesn't get updated too often, so I'm wondering whether that's a bug in it that it didn't research Psystorm. As I know, like, ability IDs sometimes change, so who knows, maybe that's it. Maybe the High Templar were supposed to be Psystorming, because as they were in this game, they were not effective enough. They were a big money sink. 24 High Templars died this game, guys. That is a lot of resources when all they would have been doing is auto-attacking or feedbacking, as there wasn't any Storm, so they all should have been Archons. Then this game might have been different. You give SharpenedEdge an extra 12 Archons, who knows? All in all, though, really great game. If you've watched up until this point and you guys haven't already, click that like button, leave a comment down below, subscribe to the channel. Yeah, let me know more bots down below if you want to see more bots. And consider becoming a YouTube member. It goes a long way to supporting the channel, supports me while I'm doing my schooling. And yeah, just big thanks to everyone for tuning on in. I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but keep an eye out for the live stream on Saturday. This will be kicking off the SC2AI tournament, which is going to be a lot of fun. And we actually do have the bracket for that too. So both Benbot and SharpenedEdge are qualified. I can say with certainty. I'd be very surprised if they were not. And that is it for this one. GG.